Hi everyone, good afternoon. MSM and LSBU welcomes you to the Agent Summit 2020 Live. I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We are all going through a very uncertain situation of COVID-19 pandemic, and it has not been easy for all of us. I hope the situation gets better soon and we all can have this kind of summit face-to-face in near future. This is a great opportunity to learn more about one of the oldest and largest universities based in central London, London South Bank University. The session will be taken by Lee. Most of you already know him. Lee is our international officer based in London office for South Asia, West Africa, and UK. Before we start, I would like to take you through the basic features of GoToWebinar. So there are multiple options in the control panel. Please note that this will be a webinar, so your videos and mic will remain inactive during the session. Any questions related to LSBU, please click on the question mark icon in your control panel. And you can see a document icon on your control panel next to mic. So we have shared a couple of handouts there that it includes LSBU presentation, SOP guidance, and Study in London guide. So that is it from my end. Over to Lee for the quick introduction, followed by the presentation of LSBU.
Okay, thanks for that, Zana. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a nice sunny morning here in the UK. Hope you're keeping well and safe in these, I suppose, quite crazy, unprecedented times. The whole reason for this summit today, and again, thank you ever so much for joining us. It's nice to see so many of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Lee Rowland. I'm, as Anna said, the international officer at LSBU. I look after all marketing and recruitment activity in South Asia, West Africa, and UK international. So the reason for having this today is obviously normally around this time I would probably be in India, flying around the various cities, meeting all of you. Unfortunately, obviously due to COVID-19, we can't do that, and we're all now working from home. This is just to kind of give you a bit of an update on where we are with regards to COVID-19 and kind of what we see the situation kind of progressing to moving forwards. I'm probably not going to have as many answers regarding that as you guys would like, but I'm going to be very open, very honest about where we stand at the moment. Then there'll be an opportunity to again learn more about LSBU for those of you who perhaps don't know so much about us, be able to get a little bit more in-depth information, a little bit more about our application and Pre-CAS procedure, and then at the end of that there'll be an opportunity to ask any questions you may have. I'm also joined by the rest of the India team, so we also have Sandeep, who looks after South India for us. He's based in Hyderabad, and Guinea, who looks after all of our applications. They're sitting quietly in the webinar. And again, if you have any questions throughout, please pop them in the chat box, and Sandeep will answer them as we move forwards. So just to begin, I just wanted to show you the slide kind of showing the student's journey to LSBU. Obviously, those of you joining us will probably have students at various stages in this cycle. You may have some who are not quite on it yet, but again, we're accepting applications, so please keep them coming. But as you can see there are that is the student journey, kind of showing the way in which students progress to from applying all the way through to enrollment at LSBU. The students, the kind of area that you'd be particularly interested in will be the A, B, C, and D and E areas, which are just off on the left, which is for Tier 4 students. But again, this is in the handout section, so please feel free to look over this in your own time. So what I'd like to start by going through some of the FAQs, the frequently asked questions that we've actually had from a lot of students, also from a lot of our representatives as well. So I just want to go through these and just kind of answer them and tell you where we stand. So a big question we're having at the moment is about, with the current situation, what's actually happening regarding English language testing, because some universities in the UK are perhaps accepting tests and qualifications that they perhaps wouldn't have done previously. Now, We are looking into these at the moment. So things like, you're probably thinking of tests like Duolingo, password, those kind of things that some universities didn't previously accept. We're currently looking into these, and by the end of this week, we will be sending out an email to all of our representatives showing what ones we'll be accepting and what particular scores will be requiring from those tests, so that students who perhaps wanted to go and sit IELTS or PTE but can't because of the current situation, we'll give you a list of the alternatives that we offer. Just for the beginning of this week, we're just our head of operations is still doing a little bit of due diligence just to make sure that they are right and they fit our systems well. And then by the end of this week, a communication will go out from us just showing you or telling you what we do accept. So you'll probably hear that from LSBU. I'll also pass the information on to Zana as well, so she can contact you individually and have a quick conversation. Obviously, this is actually more for the benefit of students, but I think it's important to show you guys as well. Obviously, IELTS isn't the only thing we do accept. We obviously accept various other English language qualifications. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them. You have this as a handout. Please look over this in your own time and just kind of get to know what we do accept. This next slide, which is about to, there it is. This largely shows for EU students. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to have very many EU students. Obviously, if you do, then this will be useful for you guys. The next thing I would say is probably the more important slide. So this is what we've some more FAQs that we've had from students. So the big one obviously is September going ahead? And the simple answer at the moment is yes. We're following government advice really closely. We're also working, collaborating with other universities, kind of getting an idea of what everyone else is planning. But at the moment, we are all planning, well, we are certainly planning to be open as normal in September. Now, this may change. We are looking into contingencies. I don't want to go through what all of those are because I don't want to start rumors or gossip or anything like that. At the moment, we're planning on being open. Obviously, if we're not, we will contact everyone as soon as possible if the situation changes. Obviously, students have been asking whether they should still apply. Our international admissions team is still welcoming and processing applications as normal. So please continue to send the applications in. Like I said, LSBU, whilst the campus itself is not open and students aren't actually, going to classes in person, the campus is shut, we are all still working from home. So we're still doing our jobs. So applications, please do keep those coming. And are the application and enrollment deadlines changing? Like I said, at the moment, we plan to be open in September as normal. So at the moment, there are no plans to change. However, we are still, as contingency, reviewing our deadlines for both applications and enrollment, and will continue to monitor these. And again, if it does come to a point where we need to change them, then we will contact all of those affected. I'm sorry, a lot of these answers are going to be, we'll contact you if this changes. We're not the only university in this situation. And like I said, this is obviously very, very unprecedented. I can imagine it's the same for you guys. So we're just kind of having to play things very much by ear, listen to what the government is saying, listen to what other universities are doing and act on those. We are hoping for a statement from the government in about the middle of May, which should give universities a much clearer idea of where the government sees the September intake going, in terms of whether we do it online, whether we postpone it till January. There's lots of different options available, but hopefully when in mid-May we'll have a much clearer answer of where the sector stands as a whole. Next key deadlines at the moment. So for tier 4 applicants that are based overseas, so all of your applicants who are with you in India, the most important deadline that you need to think about next is the 10th of August. So that is when students need to have their unconditional offer. So they need to have met all of their conditions, paid their deposit, and submitted all of their visa documents to us by the 10th of August. For students already in the UK, they have a little bit longer. They have until the 7th of September. But those are the two main deadlines at the moment. Again, not looking at changing those for the time being. Obviously, as things progress, these deadlines may change, but at the moment, this is what they are. They're set in place. Now, the top question, I am sorry, I forgot to remove this. So we were looking at raising the deposit to 50%. However, with everything that's happening, getting the website amended, amending all of our terms and conditions, it's actually proven quite a lot of work for us given this circumstance. So please ignore that. The CAS deposit remains at £3,500. If you do wish, obviously if students do wish to pay more, they're obviously more than welcome to. If exams or grades are affected by COVID-19, what we suggest at the moment is please contact our admissions team. Every student's situation is quite unique, so there's never normally a straightforward answer to each particular case. So just please email our admissions team, or obviously please email Zana, Sandeep or Guinea, and they can pass that query on to us. Are the fees changing? At the moment, again, no. Like I said, everything is planning on being open as normal for September. Therefore, we're not changing the cost. Again, we'll be in, I'm going to sound like a broken record. We'll be in touch if this changes. International scholarships will also remain the same. Obviously, you know, if things happen and things do perhaps move online in September, then obviously we will revisit these. But at the moment, everything plans on we plan on everything being as normal. So the deadline for issuing CAS letters, so if applicants based overseas, it'll be the 21st of August. We don't particularly plan on issuing CAS letters later than that. Again, if the situation changes, we will change the dates, but this is what they are at the moment. So this is accurate as of today. Obviously, the Pre-CAS process will still be running as usual. It may be slightly different to last year's. We may look at not doing some interviews for particular applicants and that kind of thing. Obviously, we've just our new immigration compliance manager started about 2 weeks ago. So she's jumping straight into looking at this Pre-CAS process and perhaps changing it to be perhaps a bit more user-friendly than it was in the last couple of intakes, because we do appreciate it. It has been very, very difficult in the last year or so. So we are looking at changing that. Can students defer their place if they cannot join due to COVID-19? Obviously, subject to course availability, we will try and defer the student to the next available intake. So that will either be January 2021 or September 2021, depending on what course they've applied for. We'll obviously do our very best to be able to do that for applicants if they so wish. Now, how does COVID-19 impact Brexit? This may not be so important for you, but I think it's worth knowing. At the moment, again, it doesn't. The UK will still formally withdraw from the EU on the 31st of December 2020. Again, if this changes, we will send out a communication regarding it, but you'll probably hear from the British government before you hear from us. Settlement visas for EU students are as advertised, and student loans are still available for EU students from September to January. For the September and January intake, sorry. So just waiting for the next slide. There it is, good. So what happens if you receive your visa but the university does not open in September? The simple answer is actually we don't really know. The Home Office, which looks after UKVI, hasn't issued any statements in regard to this situation. But again, we're monitoring the situation closely, and as soon as we get an update from UKVI, we will let you all know. But at the moment, it looks like we're kind of hoping this situation doesn't happen, either because we've preempted it and haven't issued any visas because, perhaps we're moving online for September for the first semester, or because the university is open as normal and we can just issue visas as planned. So at the moment, don't quite know what will happen, but we're waiting to hear from UKVI regarding that. Will students get their deposit back if they can't join due to COVID-19? So we'll be processing refund requests in accordance with the terms and conditions that you can find on the students' unconditional offer letters. Obviously, these are unprecedented times, and we are reviewing the deposit refund terms and conditions to be clearer and a bit more specific with regards to, global pandemics, for instance. So we will notify all offer holders when the terms and conditions are updated. Just our operations team are still looking at these. As you can imagine, with the university suddenly closing down, we've been kind of plunged into all kinds of unprecedented activity. So things such as this, we have them on our list of things to do, but there have been much more important things to try and get sorted in terms of, making sure that we can still monitor our students' attendance, even when they're not on campus, via online methods and that kind of thing. So we've been incredibly busy trying to actually make sure that the students already at the university are taken care of before moving to those who haven't actually technically joined us yet. So we've just wanted to make sure that our students are cared for. I won't go through each individual date. Like I said, this is as a handout, so you can have a look at this in your own time. But these are the Tier 4 deadlines. You can see the top one is for students who are overseas, so students in India. At the bottom are students in the UK, so that could be students who are perhaps doing a bachelor's at another university and then want to come to us for a master's, for instance. Those kind of students would be included in that. So that's kind of covered I hope all of your queries with regards to COVID-19. I appreciate a lot of the answers we'll be in touch with you very shortly. But obviously we are working on a lot of the answers to those questions, such as English language testing, what's happening with regards to deadlines and that kind of thing. We're working on those now, so hopefully in the next few weeks you'll have a much clearer idea. And like I said, a lot of UK universities, we are kind of sitting around just waiting for the British government to make a statement in the middle of May about what they see happening with the higher education sector. So until that statement is made, I think you're probably going to get a lot of quite shady answers from universities, like, oh, we're looking into it, we're not entirely sure, that kind of thing. So until that statement's made, we're kind of preempting several different scenarios and preparing for several different contingencies. But also at the moment planning on being open for September. So yeah. So what I'll do now is, for those of you who perhaps don't know as much about LSBU or London South Bank University, I'm just going to take you through kind of some general information about the university, what we offer, why I think we're worth considering as a university for students and applicants. So, and then at the end, I'll talk to you a little bit about the application process and our sort of pre-CAS process. So, obviously, why London South Bank University? So our main, I would say these are our kind of key selling points here, is the fact that it's a central location, and you'll be able to see that on a map in a moment. Employability, enterprise, practical education, and affordability. With regards to employability, a lot of students go to university, get their degree because they want to better their career prospects. I know that's certainly why I went to university. So that's kind of what we focus on. We want students to, we want our students to go out and change the world, but we want them to get a really, really good job first in order to do that. And with regards to practical education, we want our students to get as much hands-on experience as possible whilst they're with us, whether they're doing chemical engineering or accounting and finance. We still want them to actually get stuck in, and rather than sitting in a classroom all day, we actually want them to get some experience that they could perhaps even put on their CV, or take with them into their next job interview that highlights kind of what they've been up to and what they're capable of. So in terms of who we are, as a university, we're actually now, this is a little bit old. We are now 128 years old. We opened our doors in 1892. So we are one of the oldest universities in London. We've been around for a long while. We've been teaching in exactly the same place that we're located. Just over the years, we've taken over more of the area, and our campus has grown. You can see from the pictures on the side there, the kind of buildings that we have. Obviously the quite large sort of mansion-looking building, that is our original building. We still use that. And then over time, our other buildings have sprouted up. We are a forward-thinking university. We don't really, whilst we're very proud of our heritage, and that's something that we hold on to. We spend more time, I think, looking forwards than we do looking back. We've invested probably about £45 million in our campus in the last 10 or so years. We're looking at investing another 50 to 60 in the coming years. We're currently developing some of our older buildings and refurbishing them for the moment. We pride ourselves on kind of state-of-the-art facilities, so we want our students to have the best facilities possible for their work, so that when they go into a job interview, they can say that they've been using the latest technology, they've been using the same technology that that company is using as well, so that they're put in a much better position than perhaps some of the people that they'll be interviewing against. We also take a very professional focus, so a lot of our courses are accredited by industry. Those that aren't, we still develop in consultation with industry. We want them to have a bit of a say in what we're studying, in what we're kind of teaching, so that those students, again, are in the best possible position to get a good job, and they have the skills that those particular employers are perhaps looking for. And because of this, we have a really, really strong record of graduate employment. We're also a diverse environment. Again, I do apologize, I perhaps haven't updated this presentation as much as I should have done. Our student body has actually grown. We're now closer to around 18,000 students, around 3,000 of those from overseas, and we have about nearly 140 countries represented now. So it is a very, very diverse environment. The one nice thing that I would say is that at the moment, we're really lucky in that there's, I would say, in terms of our international cohort, it's still very, very diverse. Still lots of students from lots of different countries, which I think makes it a really nice sort of cultural melting pot, much like London itself. We're also a campus environment. Now for Central London, I can't stress how important and proud of that we are. As a university in Central London, to have our own one central campus is an incredibly rare thing. So much so that with the exception of Regent's University, which is obviously a private university, we are the only public university to have everything in one place in Zone 1 of Central London, which again makes things a bit easier for our students in terms of moving around, and it makes everything, I think parents are generally feel a lot more at ease where everything's together, and their son or daughter isn't having to traipse halfway across London to go from one class to another. We're also an award-winning university. So just wait for the slide to load. Yep, there we go. So the main thing that we're really proud of at the moment is the fact that we were University of the Year for Graduate Employment in 2019, so last year. We also won it in 2018. So for a university to win this kind of award twice in a row, it's never actually happened before. So it's something we're very, very proud of. And again, I think it highlights that this is what our main focus is. And it's also, as well as being our main focus, it's also what we're very good at. as well. So I think it's actually remained roughly around the same for 2019 as well. Our graduate salaries are 11th best in the country, which I think when you compare that to around, there's nearly about 120 or so universities in the UK, that's something we're relatively happy with. It's a good place to be, almost top 10. We're silver in the Teaching Excellence Framework. So that just kind of shows the quality of our teaching, our research. And then in 2016, we were Entrepreneurial University of the Year. So over the last few years, we've been able to gain some really good accolades, and we're hoping in the future there are many more to come. But this kind of gives you an idea of where our focus is: employability and enterprise. So I'll just show you kind of why we won this particular award. So for the University of the Year for Graduate Employment, it is because of our practical approach to education. So we want our students to get hands-on in the courses, whether that be so our business management students get to consult with local businesses and perhaps help them with some problems. Again, this can go on their CV. They're also able to do some internships. And again, our engineering students have a lot of space in which they can actually do a lot of the practical work that is required as that kind of as that profession demands. So like I said, we're very, very employment focused, and a lot of our courses actually have modules on employability, so how students can sell themselves for that particular profession. So like I said, we also have internships and work placements, help and support in finding those work placements. And again, really good facilities. If industry is using it, then that is the kind of machinery or equipment that we want to use. If they're not using it, we don't really see the point, because again, it gives our students a much better advantage. Just to give you an example here, these are some of the companies that we have worked with in the past and that we work with currently. So as you can see here, so everything from, you can see global companies like Coca-Cola, KFC, Porsche, Ferrari, Pepsi, Gillette, Apple. So these are some. These are, I would say, these are probably the bigger, obviously the big companies that we work with. We do work with much smaller companies as well. So about 23% of our alumni actually own their own businesses, and a lot of them actually come back to us offering work placements, support for students, mentorships, that kind of thing. So again, these are just the companies that you would have heard of, but there's a lot of companies, I would say easily double the amount that's on this page, of companies that you perhaps haven't heard of, but do quite a lot of things within the local community or within the UK in general. So this slide just kind of gives you an idea of where we're located. So you can see the little green circle. So we're not, to say that we are in the dead centre of London would be a little bit of a lie, but we're still in what is classed as central London. So we're just on the edge of Zone 1. But as you can see there, everything is in one place. And moving from, from our campus to, for instance, Houses of Parliament is about a 15-minute walk. So it's not too far at all. Everything is quite accessible. So if students, on the weekends, they want to go and explore, then within 5 minutes, they could be on the other side of central London if they take the tube, and they can be in Covent Garden doing some shopping, or at Oxford Circus, having a look around some of the shops there. So everything's very accessible and very, very easy to get to, and that's something that we really like about our campus. Our campus itself is not in what I would call a tourist area, but it's in a very, very culturally diverse part of London, many different cuisines available, a different language on every street corner, which is something I love about London personally. And again, not being in a tourist area makes it a little bit quieter for students, so they can focus a bit more on their studies. And you can just see on the map as well, there are 4 blue dots around our campus. That's our accommodation. I'll talk to you a little bit more about those shortly. But that just gives you an idea of where our campus accommodation is. No further than no more than a 10-minute walk. You can do it faster if you do it quicker if you have longer legs or a fast walker. So just to give you a bit of information about studying at LSBU now, I'll just take you through the schools that we have, which gives you an idea of some of the subjects that we offer. We have quite a lot of active courses at the moment, and they change more regularly than I'd like. So I don't want to take you through all of the courses because we'll be here all day and you will fall asleep. So I just want to take you through our schools. So we have our School of Applied Sciences. So again, you can see some of our accolades here. We have the top in London for career prospects in psychology, top in London for graduate prospects in sports. We also have the world's oldest bakery school, the National Bakery School, as part of this school. If you can, so we do things like baking science and technology. And again, I'm sure Zana and Sandeep will be able to tell you privately, they visited the bakery school and it's a pretty amazing place. Really, really practical. You can see actually in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner. And we have companies from all over the world who come to London to use our facilities. So it's really, really highly regarded. As a representative, if you can find us a baking student, then I guess a special prize for you guys, because it's something we don't have very many international students on, and it's something we'd love to get more students on. And you can just see along the bottom again what our courses are accredited by. So we have British Psychological Society, the Chartered Society of Forensic Sciences for our forensic science course. We also have biomedical science starting in September. Again, I will try and put together a much more updated course list for you, so that you can get an idea of what we have on offer at the moment. But yeah, basically psychology, biosciences, forensic science, sports science, baking, that's the main subjects within applied sciences. We also have our School of Arts and Creative Industries. Elephant Studios is our £6 million. So we have our £6 million studio facility, 90-seat theatre. We're top 3 in the UK for student satisfaction in English communication, media studies, top 5 in London for career prospects in drama, dance, journalism. And actually last year, we were number 1 in the UK for student satisfaction in journalism. And you can see, like I say, we have very practical hands-on facilities. You can see in the photos there, a newsroom for journalism students, recording studios and editing suites for our sound students, film studio for our film students, and again, a drama theatre, a theatre for our drama students. So again, very practical. For the School of Built Environment and Architecture, so we, again, state-of-the-art facilities, a specialist architecture suite for our students, which is on the top floor of our tallest building, so they get a wonderful view of our London skyline. We also have, as you can see, an anechoic chamber, which I believe is the largest in the UK for our architectural acoustic students. We also have, as you can see there at the bottom, the Digital Architecture and Robotics Lab. So that's a £3 million facility. So again, all students will be able to have access to these throughout their time with us. And just to give you an idea with our accreditation, so of the past 20 presidents of the Chartered Institute of Building Service Engineers, 13 of them have actually been LSBU alumni. So that kind of gives you an idea of the quality of our degrees. And again, I won't go through all of them, but again, in your own time, you can see the accreditations underneath. I believe actually the School of Built Environment and Architecture, I believe every course in this school has an accreditation. Please don't quote me on that 100%, but I am 90% sure that I think all of these courses have the accreditation. So with the School of Business, so for international students, this is definitely our largest school. So we're top 10 in the UK for accounting and finance. Pretty much all of our courses within the business are again accredited. So we have all of our accrediting bodies down the side, and we're number 2 in the UK for student satisfaction in marketing. Now, at the moment, students on undergraduate level can do a placement year with us. So they do a 4-year bachelor's. and at master's level, the MSc International Business Management has 1 year of study and 1 year of internship. Obviously the current situation has postponed this slightly. We're just waiting to see what's happened, but we have all of our MSc courses revalidated so that they can have the 1 year internship as well. We haven't formally announced this yet, so you won't be able to physically apply for them at the moment, but we're just monitoring the current situation, and obviously how that develops depends on what we do next. So possibly it may be for January, we may even have to postpone it to 2021. We don't know yet, but we do have the validations done. The School of Engineering. So we were the first university in the UK to admit female engineering students, which I think is really cool. Again, like I said, forward thinking. That was in 1920. We have 6,000 square meters of laboratory space, which you can obviously see some of in the photos. Again, speak to Zana and Sandeep. They came and visited our facilities, so I'm sure they have plenty of other photos that they can share with you, just kind of give you an idea of what the facilities look like. Again, most of the courses carry a professional accreditation. We also do have a virtual engineering lab where we can simulate large-scale industrial projects, which is really cool. So for our petroleum students, we can simulate oil rigs and that kind of thing, so they could still get that hands-on experience. And then we also have our School of Law and Social Sciences. So the School of Law is ranked top 10 in the UK for student satisfaction with teaching. Very hands-on experience for law. So you get to you can volunteer in the Lambeth County Court Help Desk, work in our legal advice centre. Again, getting work experience in law in the UK is really difficult. So we've actually created our own area where students can work, so they don't have to spend months trying to find an internship or a work placement. It's not just about law. We also do travel and tourism, hospitality management, human geography. We also have education courses. Again, our website is probably the most accurate place to see the most up-to-date courses. So please do have a look for our website, and you can search by school. And again, I'll try and get an updated list out to you in the coming weeks. So just to focus on enterprise and what does this mean? So we were Entrepreneurial University of the Year in 2016. Our main focus with regards to this is, again, fostering innovation for students who want to start their own businesses. We also partner with local businesses and help them grow. So we have an incubation hub, which our own students can use as well. And just because of the work that we've done in that regard, and the amount, I think in the last 3 years, we've ejected about £35 million into the local economy through these businesses that we've incubated. So for that reason, that's why we won this particular award. I'll just take you through our entry requirements and fees and scholarships very quickly. Again, you'll have this in your handouts. So for standard 12 or HSC, generally 55 to 65%. It is largely dependent on the course, but that's generally what we ask for. Generally, if they're within that area, they'll be fine. Obviously, if they're applying for accounting and finance, and they scored 20% in their maths or business studies or something like that, then we may be less inclined to accept them, even if they have the 55 to 65%. But I would like to hope that that's relatively common sense. 58% from an accredited polytechnic or college diploma. Don't see many of those these days, but again, they still do appear. And then 3 passes at UK A level or equivalent. Again, just if you have any queries about that, just email me. My contact details are at the end. For postgraduate students, 55% honours degree from an accredited Indian university. We can be flexible if it's a more prestigious university. We can accept a little bit less. In terms of backlogs, again, I'm sure Zana can run through this with you at some point, and I'm sure she's told you guys already. We're looking at about sort of 8 backlogs, 8 to 12. Any more than that, there needs to be a very, very good reason as to why those backlogs are there. And again, we can accept, slightly less in terms of a bachelor's degree if they have substantial proven work experience in the appropriate sector. So perhaps they didn't do quite as well on their degree, but they have 5-10 years working in a really good position in a cool company in a relevant job that perhaps that bolsters their qualification. But again, if you have any more information on our entry criteria and application process, you obviously have Zana's email there, which is india@lsbu.ac.uk. You could also get in touch with our international admissions team, so that's international.admissions@lsbu.ac.uk. So, English language requirements. These have changed as of last Friday, so I do have a little bit of good news for you. So obviously we've always been able to waive English language, so IELTS, PTE, based on standard 12. Now, as of Friday, so it's always been, if you're CBSE board, ICSE or Maharashtra, 65% in English, and we will waive IELTS. For all other state boards, it is now 70%. It was 75, but as of Friday, we have changed this back down to 70. Now, the only board we will not accept as an IELTS waiver is the Punjab board. So the Punjab board of Secondary Education, there has to be some form of IELTS or PTE, just because our compliance team, in terms of the quality of the students' English, we have noticed a considerable gap when you compare students who study through the Punjab board and, for instance, any of the other state boards or even the central boards. So IELTS, again, for undergraduate, is either 6.0 overall or 6.5 overall for postgraduate, and then no skill below 5.5. But like I said, we accept a range of others. You can see those on this chart at the beginning of the slide. So our tuition fees for September 2021. So I'm just keeping an eye on time because I don't want to talk for too long. So for bachelor's and master's courses, you're looking at £14,470 per year for September. However, just by meeting our entry requirements and getting an offer, that £1,570 will be taken off, which takes that down to 12,900 if my maths is correct. And then instead of that, if the student has done very well academically, for bachelor's, we can take off £3,000 per year. For master's students, we can take off £4,000. So for a master's in central London, you can do that for just over £10,000. There's the early payment discount of 5%, which can be combined with the scholarships. And then for students who want to do a placement year, it's an extra £1,035. So you would actually see on, for instance, the MSc International Business Management with the internship, you won't see 14,470 plus 1,035. We just combine those sums together, so it's £13,505. Sorry, £15,505. So yeah, we just combine those fees, and that's largely an administrative fee. Obviously, we do go through quite a lot of effort trying to find the internships for students, and we've got a lot of other things that we need to cover in order for that to happen. So moving on to accommodation. So we guarantee university accommodation to overseas students who've applied with us by the 1st of August. Again, in the pictures, you can kind of just get an idea of our buildings and where they are, what they look like on the inside. At the moment, just because of the current situation, so as of Friday, students can now apply for accommodation. We're still working through the process of publishing the 2020 prices on the website. They haven't changed that much. They're a little bit higher, but only by about, normally by, I think it was literally by about £10 or so. That's normally how it changes. But just to give you an idea, that's for 2019 rents from last September to this January. Again, you're looking at about £160 per week if you want an ensuite bathroom, which for Zone 1 Central London is pretty, I think, pretty affordable. Accommodation's probably the priciest aspect of Central London, and I think that is considerably cheaper. So regarding applications, so all applications do go to Guinea, which is apps.india@lsbu.ac.uk. The documents that are required are obviously the qualifications, English language proficiency, a personal statement, which must be the student's own work. I can't emphasize that enough. There is SOP guidance in the handout, so that will give you an idea of what we look for. We don't actually mind if the quality of English, isn't, that of someone who is fluent in English or has it as their, as their first language. We appreciate, overseas students do make mistakes, and we're happy to see that. We just want to see that the student is capable of writing, a sentence in English and making sort of grammatical sense. But we appreciate it won't be perfect. We do check. Now, we don't actually have plagiarism software. We use Google. So for when we've had it before where some agents have said, oh, this is definitely the student's own work, your plagiarism software is wrong. Literally, we type a whole paragraph into Google and it comes up. So, we don't use anything particularly sophisticated. And then references, depending on course or level. And again, CV largely for if there's a study gap. We are okay with study gaps. Don't really mind what size, as long as that can be justified. And, we can see what they've been doing the whole time. Qualifications, again, you can see the information there. In India, this is never a problem because they're always generally in English, and everything, is fairly straightforward. The only thing is we can't really accept provisional documents at the moment. That's a compliance decision. Unfortunately, it's not mine. And in terms of immigration, if the student has ever studied in the UK before, we just need all of that information. So where they were, copies of the visa and that kind of thing. If they've been to the UK on a visitor visa, don't worry about that. But any kind of refusals or any information like that, we have to see up front. If we see it too late on in the process, it may be too late for us to actually sponsor that student. So the earlier we see them, it's fine. Honesty is the best policy. And I know that for you guys, some students like to hide refusals. So I appreciate that sometimes can happen as well. With regards to the Pre-CAS process, so this is once a student has studied in the UK. So this is once a student has paid their deposit, sorry. Basically, we just need to see financial documents. It says please use one bank statement only. We can accept several. But yeah, this is basically everything they would submit for the visa. We need to see. Now, we also do an interview at the moment. That may be, the format for that may be changing in September. We're not entirely sure yet. Obviously, like I said, we've just taken on a new member of staff responsible for this process. So the whole thing may be changing ever so slightly. But at the moment, you essentially take all of the documents that a student would apply for the visa, send to us, and we will check them. Again, we're working on a much better method of checking them, as I appreciate last year has been a bit difficult with regards to that. It was difficult just as difficult for me and our team in India as it was for you guys. So apologies for that. I appreciate how stressful it was. It was stressful for me too. And yeah, any of the documents just go to cas@lsbu.ac.uk, or you could send them to Guinea and she will forward them on too. However you prefer on doing it. However, if you do ever forward anything directly to us as a university, it would be really great if you guys could copy in Guinea, Zana, Sandeep, or myself, just so we know, because we've had it before, just sometimes where the same conversations are happening down two different channels, and it just makes things a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So, that was essentially the presentation. So you can see their contact details here. So you have my contact details. So that's me. Then you have Zana's contact details. So Zana oversees India as a whole. She also has looks after sort of Central and North India and any other new areas that we're looking at. Sandeep is our regional manager for South India. So Sandeep is based in Hyderabad, and essentially, anything slightly north and entirely south of that is his turf. And then, I do apologize, Shana no longer works for us, but it is just Guinea at the moment. Obviously, when things get busy, we will bring in somebody else. But at the moment, it's Guinea, and she is our admissions coordinator, so she goes through all of the applications. So thank you for listening to me. I hope I appreciate you've probably heard a lot about LSBU before in terms of our selling points and that kind of thing. But I hope the beginning part of the presentation, and again a little bit at the end, gave you kind of a bit more of an update on our application procedure, our pre-CAS procedure, and also the steps that we're going through at the moment in light of COVID-19. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Zana, are you okay if I hand back to you for a moment?
Yes, so we have a couple of questions. Most of them Sandeep have already answered, but I think one or two we can discuss that will be good for everybody. So the
Yeah,
one
sure.
question that we have is the merit scholarship that we have for bachelor's degree for 1 year or all the 3 years?
That covers all 3 years. So it's free. Yeah, so it's £3,000 per year.
Each year, yeah, so
So
total £9,000.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you want to promote it as a £9,000 scholarship over the course of 3 years, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Then one more is this scholarship, like the merit scholarship, is apart from the international one, or is it a separate one?
Yes. So yes, it is. It is apart from the. So we can't combine the two scholarships. It's essentially one scholarship or the other. And again, this will be our admissions team will assess this automatically. So there's nothing extra that our students or you guys need to do. Obviously, if you have any queries about this, where a student has perhaps not been awarded the scholarship and you just want to check whether actually there was a mistake made, because they do happen, we're only human, either let Zana or myself know and I can push it back to admissions, or I can even have a look myself, and we can work on that. So again, any queries, we're always we're happy to be queried on our decisions.
And then there is a question that for UG applications, do they need to apply through UCAS?
No.
So I think yeah,
No,
it's
no,
important that we discuss
no.
UCAS.
I mean, you can, but the quickest way, to be honest, will be to apply through. If you send the application to Guinea, Guinea will upload it to our own. We have our own special online portal that Guinea can use, and that should. And yeah, that's a much quicker way. In terms of turnaround time, I mean, we used to be really, really quick in that we used to be able to do it, sometimes in the same day. Due to the sheer number of applications we've been receiving recently, that time has extended a little bit. You're now looking at about a week or so to get an offer to get an offer letter back. One thing that we are changing is that we now also have a new admissions team, as well as being based in, we have Jenny, Feifei and Sayuri based in London. We also have several admissions officers now based in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So the idea was that's still in kind of the testing phase, but the idea is that we have a 24-hour admission service, so that as soon as we go to bed, they wake up, and as soon as they go to bed, we wake up. So there'll always be somebody being able to answer the admissions queries. And with that, hopefully applications will start getting processed a lot quicker again. But at the moment, you're looking about a week turnaround time. But hopefully once the KL team come into play, that will be cut down considerably.
Okay, so the next one is what is the maximum gap accepted for English waiver?
At the moment, technically there isn't one. That is something that we're probably going to have to put in place for the next intake. But obviously, for students who have, for the official English language qualifications like IELTS and PTE, it's 2 years. In terms of Standard 12, there isn't one. However, we will obviously, with those students who have applied with their Standard 12, we will do a very quick interview with them at some point in the admissions process, probably, to be honest, probably in the Pre-CAS process stage, just to assess their English ability. And that will kind of impact, whether we decide to sponsor them or not. We've had it before where a student has had, really, really good scores, and then we've interviewed them and it turns out their English was absolutely terrible. So you know, we do have to interview as well for those particular qualifications. So there is no limit, but obviously the student does need to be able to speak English. I would hope that a student who couldn't speak English would not apply to the UK, where English is the main language. But yeah, so there is no real limit in terms of time, but obviously we will double check everything. We will double check their ability to actually be able to speak English and their ability to write English with the SOP as well.
Okay, so the one is, does all the programs will run in January 2021 in case September doesn't work?
That is a wonderful question, and I would love to be able to give you the answer. But at the moment, September, at the moment, like I said, we're planning on September running as usual. We are looking at contingencies in terms of, you know, looking at running things online. Yes, move some of the courses over to January. So we're doing that very much behind the scenes. And, you know, when things get announced about September, if things get announced about September changing, then obviously we'll tell you a lot more about those. But at the moment, the plan is September is running as normal.
Okay. Is there any foundation or pre-sessional English program, maybe CG?
Yes, so for foundation programs, so we use a private provider, so a lot of you will have heard of them. We use On Campus, which is run by Cambridge Education Group. So we are completely separate to them in that if you want a student to apply for a foundation program, you go straight to them. We have no involvement in that admissions process. If you don't work with On Campus but want to, then just drop me an email, because if you already work with us and want to send to On Campus, then generally they're okay with taking on, you know, a new representative. In terms of pre-sessional, we are looking at one run by On Campus, but we'll deal with some aspects of the admissions process for that. We're kind of looking potentially at January for that. It has been signed off, so probably for January. That's kind of me unofficially keeping fingers crossed. January. That's my unofficial fingers crossed answer.
There are a lot of questions actually about the personal statement and the interview process. So,
okay.
Like, can you elaborate more on interview process and what exactly are we looking for when we say we need a good personal statement?
Yeah, sure. So with regards to the interview process, so at the moment, the only interview we do, obviously there are some courses which like to have an interview. So I think journalism, drama, a couple of those courses like to have actual interviews as part of the admissions process. The interview we do is as part of the Pre-CAS process. So the student has their unconditional offer letter, they have their they've paid their deposit, and then they're now submitting all of those documents for the visa that we just double check and make sure that they're okay, because we want to minimize the refusal risk. We also want the student not to get a refusal. So we do it to help each other essentially. And again, for you guys as representatives, again, it's another pair of eyes looking at these documents. The interview is as part of that procedure. So obviously some countries like to interview students, and a lot of students have never been through that process before. So we just like to give them an interview so that they have an idea of what they're going to expect. But it's also for ourselves, knowing that, you know, the student is a credible student. They're, you know, depending on their credibility. Depending on their credibility. Obviously, depending on their English language qualification, we want to check their ability to speak, you know, their English language ability. It's not just for students from India. It's, you know, students from West Africa who study with WIEC, which is it's very similar to Standard 12 in terms of qualification level. Again, we waive IELTS for those. We'll be interviewing those students again, making sure that their English ability is pretty good. And we'll just be asking them very simple questions, you know, why they chose their course, you know, what they want to do in the future, what did they do before, why the UK, that kind of thing. That's kind of what we ask. Very, very simple questions, but a student who wants to come and study in the UK, who is investing this much time and money, should be able to answer pretty easily. With regards to SOP guidance, I might be able to open it. I don't know if it will let me.
We have actually already uploaded in the handout section the questions that you might have about the personal statement, like what exactly we're looking for, and
Yes,
how you can.
pretty much. Yes, here it is. It's just taking a bit of time to load, if it is at all. There we go. So yeah, I mean, basically the SOP, it just needs to be the student's own writing. Very, very simple. Where the applicant's background, why they've chosen the course, why the UK and why LSBU, their career prospects. We appreciate some students, like particularly bachelor students, may not actually know what they want to do in the future, but as long as they have kind of some idea of the kind of industry they want to do or that kind of thing, that's okay. And then so that's it. That's very simple. There's pretty much 4 key things that we need to know. And whether it's, it could be study gap or explaining the study gap as well. That's also very important. But providing it's the student's own words, that's what we need.
One more question about the LORs, reference letters, because of course, because of lockdown, it's not easy for students to get one right now. It's not compulsory anyway for LSBU for straightforward applications. Like if they don't have any gaps, they don't have any work experience, fresh students, we don't need the LOR right away.
No, absolutely not. No, that's fine.
Oh, you can talk about the spouse cases, the dependent ones, if we do accept them, and what are the conditions?
Yes. So yes, we do accept. Obviously, students are able to bring their dependents, their spouse. It's only for master's courses, and obviously you have to show a certain amount of money in your bank account, which for living expenses. So that's £11,385 plus the tuition fee that you haven't yet paid. So if you paid the deposit, it would just be £3,500 less. What the spouse needs to show is the additional another £11,385, because whilst the spouse, when they're over in the UK, they're able to work to support themselves. But there's never 100% guarantee of them being able to get a job. So we have to. I mean, they should without any problems at all. But they still need that financial backing beforehand, just in case they come over and they're not able to work. So they just need to show that extra living expenses. And we don't interview the spouses or anything like that. We just need to see the financial evidence that the 1 year's living expenses is there.
There are a lot of questions regarding the English language. So we discussed this at the start of presentation about the Duolingo and IELTS, TOEFL, PT, and other English language tests. We are going to announce something this week. So stay tuned.
So sorry for those of you who joined a bit late. We are looking into this at the moment. So the English language testing, like Duolingo, Password, all of those. I know some universities have already announced that. We're kind of just doing a little bit of due diligence around some of the ones that we want to use. By the end of this week, we will be sending out a communication to our representatives and to our students who are perhaps caught up with these problems with like IELTS and everything. So you'll have more information by the end of this week, the latest very early next week.
I think all of the questions are answered in the presentation. So if you have joined late or anything, just download it from the handouts, and then you can see like the generic requirements about the application and the application process. Like you have to send it to guinea@apps.india@lsb.ac.uk. We'll still check because there are a lot of questions. I don't think we will be able to answer all of them right now. We will have a look at it, and in case if you think the questions you want to ask like today itself, you can email me at my email ID, which is also in here, india@lsbu.ac.uk, and I'll be able to get back to you.
Yes, you can see all of our contact details here on the screen. I'm happy for you to email me today as well if you have any further questions. I mean, yeah, but obviously Zana and Sandeep are there with you in India, as is Guinea. So yeah, do try and direct all questions to them. But again, if you want to speak to me, then drop me an email too.
If any of your colleagues would want to join this webinar, because they're going to repeat this tomorrow as well. So if they have missed today's session, then you can ask them to join tomorrow's session. It's going to be the same. We will come up with something else, some other kind of content, and then we will notify you for the same. All right, anything else you want to add, Lee?
No, I don't think so. I would just like to say, thank you all for joining us in these kind of unprecedented times. I'm sorry I can't be doing this all face to face with you, but I hope you're keeping safe. And again, any questions, do get in touch. I apologize that for some questions I wasn't able to provide the most concrete answer, but I think every other university in the UK would probably be giving you the same answer that I've given. But yeah, thank you for joining us, and again, stay safe, and look forward to hopefully seeing you once all this craziness is over.
Okay, all right. I hope you all have enjoyed this exclusive webinar. We hope this session was informative and you took some learning out of this session. Thank you all for participating, and in this session, stay tuned for more information and more such webinars. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.